things and what have you, at a detriment, to the detriment of what the EFCC was originally established for, prosecution of corruption cases. You, again, properly strengthen a whistleblower policy so that if we have people who blow whistles, who are encouraged to blow whistles.
Which this administration has done. Is this something you'll commend?
You will not have cases where the government is unwilling to pay or tries to detract from paying or refuses to pay completely.
Mr. Onoja, in fairness, quickly, I'll let you finish. In fairness, when you look back, it hadn't, we had high oil prices. There was plenty of funding for agencies. The argument would be that, look, there wasn't political will. Even when there was funding, there was no will. So what I want to ask you quickly is the membership of your party, which largely remains the same, would they begin to now muster the political will to be able to move some of these reforms to fight corruption if they came back to power?
My party has always been willing to, and my party has shown several examples over the course of, since 2019, of a willingness to fight even party members who are accused of corruption. There are several examples that have existed over the years, many of whom, during the current dispensation, have gone to the APC and have found some sort of reprieve, where, if you check, for instance, someone like Oju Zokalu, all of a sudden he moves to the APC, and then star witnesses in his case disappear. These are people who were, as members of my party, were arraigned after their tenures as governors. And such examples abound. There has been a willingness where I would believe that we would make serious strides towards is that corruption cases spend too much time in the judiciary. Unless and until we're able to expedite, speedy dispensation of justice, so that people don't have to be in court 12, 13 years before, there's a pronouncement as to their guilt or to their innocence. If we can move that quickly, I would like to believe that that's one of the places that we'll be looking at. We'll also be looking at, strengthening again, as much as possible, our freedom of information. The truth is, during the tenure of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, she was very particular about the periodic publishing of reports and, reports that showed the state of the finances of government, that showed the state of the finances. She was very particular about that. Since she left office, quite a number of reports, which ought to be published by the Ministry of Finance, by the Ministry by CBN, aren't published as frequently as they used to.
Can you verify that? Can you confirm that?
If you go to the CBN website, if you look for a budget implementation report, you probably won't find one for 2016 or for 2017 for any of the quarters. If you go to the CBN, and I can say that because I've checked, budget implementation reports are suddenly, and this is one example, very hard to come by. They were really regular when Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was Minister of Finance. They were really regular. Why? Now, corruption only thrives in opacity. And this government is a little more opaque. In fact, not even a little.
There might be arguments as to
certainly more opaque than the previous ones.
Maybe we should leave that to Ismail to defend. Some people will say that the Minister of Finance then, she was coordinating Minister of the Economy, and as such could effect these changes. But then some people will say that the current Vice President is currently playing that role. How do you then react to accusations that there's a little more opacity now in this current administration than was in the previous administration?
It's simply not true, just like most of the things they keep saying. They just keep reeling out these things that this is not true, this is not true. What does it, opacity in what respect?
He just cited an example of budget implementation.
Of CBN. Budget implementation, we have our budget implementation is very clear. We argue these things, it's always out there for people to see. Implementation of budget, he said that you check on the CBN report. I think it takes time. We'll check that and see if there's what do you call it? If there are issues with that, we can check and we can talk to the necessary people. But I don't think this is opacity just because it's not pasted on the website. Have you checked the Ministry of Finance website to see whether it has been implemented, whether it has been pasted there?
You talked about,
I have checked.
You talked about the whistleblowing policy, and some people will say that that is currently being implemented in this administration. They brought it up. In fact, they've also brought up another one, Aides. But the whistleblowing policy, which they're talking about, I think your criticism of it was that they were reluctant to pay. Is that right?
Yeah, amongst other things, yeah.
Amongst other things. What are the other things?
Mistreatment. I mean, there was a whole scandal that surrounded the payment of the person who blew. For instance, the Ikoyi, the finding of funds in Ikoyi. There was a whole scandal around the person who blew that whistle. I mean, at a point in time, government from, I think it was Ite-Sage, if I'm not mistaken. It was either Ite-Sage or
it was Ite-Sage, yes.
Who came out to say they were unwilling to pay the guy until after some sort of psychiatric evaluation, lest he go mad.
You know, one of the things I'm really hoping that we could avoid in this conversation is a lot of speculation and misinformation. Exactly. I really like facts, because when you make a statement, it's really important. And I challenge you to do the same thing. If you make a statement that one government is more opaque than the other, I would like to have concrete examples across sectors. Because you gave me what you gave me was you said CBN reports were not there. What I'm thinking as an informed Nigerian, as I recall, I say, look. You know, there was a multi-trillion naira subsidy scandal. We had no